Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Common Ground's Alpha launch evening. My name's Garth. I'm one of the leaders here at Common Ground. And normally on an Alpha launch night, we'd be gathered in a centralized venue and we'd have some tables and some chairs out. And I'd get up, I would welcome everyone, and I'd say something along the lines of, I really hope we could make you feel at home this evening. Well, I don't think we could possibly make you feel any more at home than you are this evening. If you watching from South Africa, we are in week 4, heading into week 4 of this lockdown, and I'm videoing this from my room, and there's this global pandemic that is happening all around us. And maybe that's caused you to ask some of the big questions in life. Is there more to life than this? Well, that is great, because that's what the Alpha course is all about. It's about us being able to have a space where we can just explore these big questions about life and the claims of the Christian faith, and that's why the course primarily isn't for Christians, but it's for people who are questioning spirituality, for people who might subscribe to different religions, people who see themselves as indifferent, or people who see themselves as different. Anyone and everyone is welcome. And so that's why we're so grateful that you've logged on this evening to join us. And that's the beauty of doing Alpha online. We get to bring this course to you in your home. And so the only thing you need to do this evening is pour yourself a cup of tea, a glass of wine, a cup of coffee, whatever's available to you. Maybe get some snacks if you can, and just enjoy this live premiere this evening with us. We're going to watch a talk now. It's by a guy named Charlie Mackesy. He's been part of the Alpha story for quite a while, but he's just going to share a little bit of his journey on how he started to explore the big questions of life and all these claims to the Christian faith. So enjoy the talk, and we'll see you in a little bit.
Hello. Whenever I have an introduction like that, I feel awkward because it's very kind, but I'm a lot worse than that. So I'm going to give you an introduction that is more likely. I've written it. It goes like this. Is Charlie here? He's probably outside or in the loo. He's always late. He has a limited attention span. He went to university twice and left both after a week. He failed his driving test 5 times. In the 4th test, he was so hungover, he pulled over onto the curb and, without indicating, got out and threw up. True, in Gloucester. I failed. When he prays in church with his eyes shut, he's often just thinking about other things. His prayer life consists mainly of sighing, watching the news. He used to crave success, but it hasn't given him what he hoped for at all. His main talent is chasing things up dead ends. He thinks he's probably screwed up more than most of you put together in this room, which makes him wonder why he's speaking in this talk at all. He's sure the call is coming, saying, "We all know you're a bad artist." He's addicted to crisps, watches Gavin and Stacey a lot, struggles with institutionalized religion a lot, yet loves the lifelong patient friends he's made in church. He's come to view Jesus much the same way as he views Elvis. He loves the guy, but some of the fan club really freaks him out. He's scared of speaking to large groups of people, and as he's reading this, will be feeling sick. I could have said something like that. I do have a faith now. It's taken me a long time. It's not a certainty. If it was a certainty, it would be called a certainty. It's a faith. I standing here, think a lot about how I felt when I first came here as a more cynical person than I am now. And I sat and looked at the person, and they looked so scarily confident, so neat, so perfect, with squeaky language and perfect teeth. And everyone had perfect teeth. They're all smiling at me like they were trying to sell me something. You know what it's like? Your teeth won't convert me to your belief system. So I left. It took me 7 minutes, and I ran out the door. I went to the pub, saw my friends, and they said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Not really." He said, "Why?" I said, "I've been this weird thing." What was it? It was like this alpha weird Christian thing. And my mate said, "Did they have a guitar or guitars?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, it's a cult." And I said, "Yeah, probably right, probably." So I did return for whatever reason. I was I suppose, I had an embryonic faith that happened alone. I wanted to contextualize it, ask questions, reason with people and argue with them sometimes. And I did Alpha over and over again, and stayed, and here I am a long time later. I would say, though, that I still have questions. I'm not this kind of, as I said, certain. But I would choose this over not choosing it. I think the faith has brought me a great deal of freedom and love and peace and good things. I did think at school, I don't know how you saw it or whether you have a faith or not, whether you're atheist, agnostic. When I was at school, I was really angry about Christianity, particularly. Any theism, any belief system was dangerous to me. But Christianity somehow was the one that I hated most. And so I would regularly be rude to people who profess the faith, and I'm sorry for that. So I'm trying to tell you in a really sort of honest way where I came from, which was not wholly positive towards it. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I'm standing awkwardly on a stage speaking to you now in a way that I hope makes sense. I did see it. It was presented to me. If Christianity is expressed, Christianity is just lots of different ways of expressing a person, or it's Jesus, and then you have lots of different ways of, expressing him. And that's why there are so many faiths or denominations. But the ones I'd seen were very kind of straight and serious, and men wore sort of long dresses, and it was all very serious at my school. And essentially what I gleaned from that was that it was a faith that was about legality. So you fail. So it was all about guilt. The whole thing, if you want to nutshell, if someone said, what is Christianity? I'd say it's essentially guilt, and you just sing a little bit, and they're not very nice songs anyway. So I don't really not interested, to be honest. And so, why bother? And Stephen Fry, who I really love, said, well, after all, is a halo? It's just one more thing to keep clean. So I'd agree with him. A halo, the faith is just something that you try to achieve, and it actually makes you feel worse because you fail. So that was me, and I didn't want to bother it. Monty is a son of a friend of mine. When Monty was 4, Robin, his dad, had him on his knee at the back of church. And Monty was listening, and the vicar person was at the front and said, let's pray, and said, Monty, so they all shut their eyes, and he said, I'm sorry for what I've done wrong. And Monty said, what's he done wrong? And Robin said, no, we're praying along with him. Everyone's done something wrong. He went, oh, okay. And then he got off his studs and he went all the way up the side, went into the loo, and then when he came out, instead of going up the side again, he came round the front and down there and looked, he's tiny, he's 4, looked at everyone and just said, you naughty, 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 naughty people. And then walked off. And, to me, when Robin told me that, very funny, but I thought, well, that's a perfect, actually, a kind of reflection, metaphor for how I saw the faith, which was someone at the front, clearly not particularly moral, telling everyone else that they weren't moral. From some kind of, look at me, I'm on a stage here, so automatically I'm above you. I'm a Christian. It's like this kind of dreadful moral ascent, and atheism to me wasn't morally superior at all. It was just saying, here are the facts, we'll choose them. They make sense to me. So to me, I'm a great one for just, lifting up on rocks and trying to find truth and arguing. But at the time, atheism for me made more sense. And I didn't trust a belief system that, well, where was the evidence for this, And Ella Wheeler Wilcox, great writer, she said there's so many gods, just so many creeds, so many paths that wind and wind, while just the art of being kind is all this sad world needs. And I'd have really agreed with that. I think kindness is just the tops, So atheism and kindness are good. But I don't know if you have these kind of wet fish moments when someone slaps you in the face with not a real fish, but to wake you up. And to me, if I one of my big wake-up moments in terms of belief was in Southern Africa. And I don't know if you've ever been, but I was painting, I draw things, and I was working in a village, drawing in a village. And in that village were people who hadn't been out of the village in their lives, and they didn't have anything. And cerebral malaria and HIV rates were so high, it was kind of obscene. And I was just this weird English person, there for quite a long time. And I really loved them. They were wonderful people. And what struck me most about them was 2 things. One, they suffered more than anyone I've ever seen suffer. I have never seen suffering like that. And yet, bizarrely, with this extreme poverty, abject pain and suffering and loss. Lendiwe, who became a friend of mine, just lost, remember, she lost her son. He had cerebral malaria, he died. And yet somehow a week later, there was this peace and glow to her. And I said, you're annoying me. How can you be like that? And she said, I've grieved and I still grieve, but I have this faith. And I remember sort of going, oh yeah, I know you all, most of the guys there had it. And when we were chatting, she had a piece of paper that was stuck to the mud hut wall. And it just said, Jesus said, I'm the bread of life. And I said, is that, do you believe that? And she said, well, yes. And I said, but it's bread. I mean, isn't that a bit of a paradox given the fact that you don't really have very much? You don't have anything. And she said, lines that have scorched in my heart ever since. She's just said, you come from another country. I've never been to our city, but you've been educated. I know that. What feeds you spiritually? I know what feeds you mentally. I see you have 3 books there, very interesting. What feeds you spiritually? Where do you get your food from? And I said, football, money, probably trying to get money, probably sex maybe if you can get it. How do you get it? And then she didn't answer. She said, she had another question. She said, do you know that you're loved? I'm English. I don't like these questions. And she is so gentle and so humble and so not this arrogant vicar, just gentle. Do you know you're loved? Sorry, the vicars aren't arrogant. They're lovely. But you know what I mean? From my subculture, my upbringing was all sort of la, 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 you're guilty. But yet there was this gentle woman who was suffering saying, do you know you're loved? And I'm like, the reason why I'm an atheist is because you suffer this much. And you're asking me if I'm loved. Do you think you're loved? And she said, do you think you are? And I said, well, my family like me. Vaguely. And I knew what she was angry for. And she said, do you know that God loves you? Like, really? And I said, no, I don't. And I remember just trying to fend the question off, as we all do. And then I left. I kept avoiding the question. I remember going back to England with those questions in my head. And she did say to me, you are loved, you have been loved, and you always will be profoundly loved. She didn't use the word profoundly, but you are. Always. You're known and you're loved. And it really hit me very, 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 very hard. And she wasn't trying to convert me. She just wanted me to know. And I went back to my studio, which is kind of shock, cultural shock, and I was painting away. And I work a lot at night, and there was Radio 4 was on, and Jack Higgins, the author, was being interviewed, a very successful crime writer, and the question was, what do you wish you'd been told when you were 18? He's now at the end of his career. And he paused for a long time, and he just said, I just wish that someone had told me that when I got to the top, there'd be nothing there. And the interviewer said, what, nothing? He said, well, obviously, there's things, but it's not what you think. It's not what I thought it would be. And it was this kind of classic cliche, someone getting everything and not having it. And she said, what did you expect? I said, I don't know, but it was not this. And in my head, I could just see him putting a ladder against the wall and climbing the wall to get to the top, and then just being profoundly disappointed when he got to the top. And we all would love the chance to get to the top just to see if it's empty. But I mean, so many people say it is. And a good friend of mine, on the sort of grand scheme of things, as an artist, I hang around with a lot of artists. He's very, very, very successful. He makes millions. He just has to sort of break wind and someone pays him a fortune. And we were on holiday together, and I'll never forget the night, about 3 a.m, I was lying in bed trying to sleep, and it was really hot. It was, in a hot country, and he came through into my bedroom. And I sat at the end of the bed, and I said, oh no. I said, look, I'm straight, He said, I know, shut up. he just said, I said, what is it? Are you okay? He says, not really. I said, what is it? He said, he kept saying the F word over and over again. I said, you're not all right, are you? He says, what is it? And he said, we've got here, haven't we? We've actually got here. We've made it. I've made it. I've got it. And then he used a lot more swear words. He says, this isn't making it, is it? And I just begun this journey into Jesus. I just begun this quiet journey into faith. And part of me wanted to go, well, here we go, it's Jesus. But I didn't. I just sort of said, yeah, isn't it weird that as humans in our culture, subculture, our society, we really hold out these things as being the thing. And you get there, and oh my gosh, it isn't it at all. And nice as they can be. And I suppose for me, that journey, listening to all this, my life is basically based on conversations and questions and reading books. And I've read a lot of atheism. I don't know if you read atheists, but I actually genuinely enjoy atheist books. They make me smile because I like their kind of commitment to truth. And there are some openly destructive ones, but there are some who are genuinely searching. And Christopher Hitchens, I just adore him. And he sadly died, but he was wonderful. And I've got this book called God Is Not Great. And on the back of it is sort of, the classic quotes. And one of them I just often read when I'm on the loo, because I enjoy what he says. He just says, religion has run out of justifications. Thanks to the telescope and the microscope, it no longer offers an explanation of anything important. I.e., we've got this far, it was fine in those days, but right now, here we are. We've got texting and internet, we've got all kinds of medicine. We don't need this. And I would have completely agreed with that, except I would have said to him, Christopher, cup of tea? I would have said, I really want to talk to you about this. Why then? And I get you, because I really get this. Half of me is still like, yeah, I agree with you. But the other half is going, well, no, wait. Why, okay? If this is true, does the human race still, in spite of the telescope and the microscope, why does it still hanker for a transcendence? Why are we still spiritually hungry? What is this wiring in us that makes us insatiable? That when we have these things, it's not quite enough. What is it? Why are we like this? And I would ask him that, and he would have probably said, well, for various reasons, the way, genetically predisposed, whatever. He could have a good answer, but essentially, it wouldn't have been good enough for me. And Freud also, I love, in a different way. Freud is extraordinary. He said that religion is an illusion. But it falls within our instinctual desires. This is the problem. It's in our instinct. We have an instinct for belief. Why? So Freud, Christopher, why? My main question all my life has actually been why. It's very annoying in class because I just say, why are we even doing this? Teacher, give me a reason and I'll do algebra, but you haven't given me one. And so the answer is there isn't an answer. And that's why I'm still clinging on essentially to what Lendiwe said to me, which I think the answer to all these things is love. I think Christianity is presented in lots of different ways, and it can be sometimes horribly moralistic, sometimes terribly judgmental, and for that I'm genuinely sorry. It's got nothing to do with it whatsoever. But what it is at its core is love and forgiveness and all the absolute beautiful things the human being and the human condition really craves, to be known and understood and held and loved and forgiven and free, all those basic things that we thirst for, that success won't give you, nice as they are. And I was hungover one morning, really, like my beer, and I was hungover, and I heard some church bells ringing, and I heard them, and I was on a friend's farm, and I went down the lane and went into the church and sat at the back, and there were 40 pews, there were 3 old ladies at the front and a vicar, and I couldn't hear him, but I saw a range of books. I opened one book, it was green. There were lots of books, and I liked the color. And it opened on the New Testament, I read it, and it just said, the one line, it just said, bizarrely, in the New Testament, it just said, I've come to give you life. And it was Jesus speaking, John 10:10, I've come to give you life. And to give it to you to the full. I've come to give you life. And I remember thinking about Lendiwe, and I remember thinking about these things. And I was thinking, is this Christianity a spiritual affair? Is it, because to me it was moral and legal, and I could only fail it. Is there something in it that I've completely missed? It's presented to me as an iguana, and actually it's an apple. Right? Something else, something completely different. It isn't a religion at all, actually. It's a way of being. It's a way of actually enjoying existence. It's connection. It's just horribly betrayed, I think, a lot of the time. So I went to the vicar at the front who was speaking, and I said, this is nice, this verse, what does it mean? Anyway, oh, come for tea. I said something, I didn't go for tea in the end. But I really enjoyed the line, and I started reading into Jesus and reading more what he said, and he seemed to be actually completely fascinating, and contrary to actually the way he's been presented. And I remember going to a nightclub on Lots Road, and dancing a lot on my own. I used to go there every Friday night and dance a lot, from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. with God. Now, I know that sounds insane, but I really did. And because I didn't have a church, I didn't go to a church. I thought, right, I'm not going to drink. I'm just going to go in there. And I like the music. It's just straight 70s funk. I'm going to dance for 2 hours and then go home. And that was my early experience of worship, was just absolute liberation on the dance floor. It was. True story. And so that's how it began. And I remember years later being in Romania teaching kids to draw. And we were there for a week, and there were English people. And the English people were promised tuna at the end of the week. And of course, because English people love tuna, don't they? And so I've got the tin here. And the thing about the tuna was that when we ate it, was, oh no, don't show it. Have you shown it? Don't show it. Wait, punchline. It was, we were given the tuna, and I remember thinking, good tuna. And I was with my mates on the table, and I said, the problem with tuna is the packaging really lets it down. Because the tuna's good, but it really doesn't look good. And can we see the tin? We do. And I said to my friends, you don't want to eat that, do you? Why would you want to eat that? That just says crap. Don't eat me. And I said, isn't that interesting? I think, in a way, from just a metaphor, an analogy, this is Christianity. It's presented to you as crap. Don't eat it. Don't come near it. That was my reading of it. Why would you want to go near that? It's just awful, actually. But if you dare to actually get beyond the packaging, pull the thing, it's really delicious. That's my analogy. And I said to my friends, don't you think it's a good analogy for Christianity? And they went, no. we don't. Okay. So that was that. Anyway, so what I'm trying to tell you is that, it's like ships passing in the night to me. I misread it, misunderstood it. And I think it's very easy to do that. And the way we're doing it here, is one way, guitars, la-da-da. You can go and, there are a million ways of expressing this faith. You just be with your friends in a pub. You don't have to. This isn't church. You're church. This is a building. This is bricks. You are temples. This is not a temple. It's you. And when I discovered all this, it was like, oh my gosh, this is not what I thought at all. I heard about a Texan who was on holiday in Devon, and he approached a farmer who was leaning against the gate and said, howdy. And the farmer said, all right. The Texan said, is this your, sorry, my accent's terrible, right? Is this your farm? And the farmer said, yep. He said, how big is it? And the farmer said, well, it goes from that tree to that tree to my house there. And the Texan said, man, that's small. Where I come from, I have a farm, and I get in my car in the morning and drive. And by the time the sun sets, I'm still on my own land. And the farmer said, yep, I used to have a car like that once. Yes. The reason why I tell that joke is because I like it, but also because it's this tenuous link, It's just like, the link is this, that, it's presented in a certain way, and you get an answer and you just don't know, it's missed completely. For me, the faith was completely misunderstood. That's how I can justify the joke. With my questioning, I had another kind of wet fish moment, was with a friend's wedding. And I had a few glasses of champagne, because you do those things if you're lucky. And I was sat next to a bishop. I had to sit next to a bishop. The bishop was wearing purple. And I have you ever spoken to a bishop? But it was my chance to be incredibly rude. So he was there, and I said, so you're this religious person? And he said, I suppose so. And I said, so you're just a sort of morally superior, cliquey bunch of people who use the deity to make themselves, I went off on one. Actually, it's a crutch, isn't it? You're just pathetic. I mean, I really was quite drunk and angry. And I brought out all that stuff that I'd been put through in chapel with religious people. And the thing about him was, what he was amazing was, he just smiled at me. He kept smiling. And he was nodding, going, yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Although you're not meant to agree with me. And you're a bishop. And he said, first thing, he told me a joke. And he said, she told this joke, I'll never forget, he goes, Charlie, two bishops were discussing the moral decline in Britain. One said to the other, I didn't sleep with my wife before I was married. Did you? And the other one said, I don't know. What was her maiden name? Of course, I thought, that's a bishop. That's quite funny. And so we laughed, and then I remember lighting a cigarette and saying, so, I'm warming to you now. You're not this, what I thought, which is often the case with me, with Christians. You're not what I thought. I thought you were this. You're not that. And I said, what do you think? Help me. And he said, okay, listen, I'm at a wedding. I'm not going to bore you for very long because I want to dance, and I'm here not to talk about this. It's my job. But I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to go and dance. So basically, he said this monologue to me, and I remember genuinely hurriedly writing it down on a napkin with a biro because it was really lovely. Okay, and he was something, I'm not doing him justice, but it's something like this. He said something like this, Charlie, none of us is perfect, but I believe we're perfectly loved. It's the only reason why I agreed to wear these silly purple clothes. We are human, we make mistakes, a lot of them. That's our condition, really. It's kind of messy. And life is extremely difficult, but I believe we're loved and forgiven if we desire it. And this is called the grace of God, Charlie. Jesus brings grace and forgiveness, and that's how change comes. And yes, there are moral implications and decisions we need to make, but it's a gentle journey and primarily a very quiet one. And it's a relationship, not an in-club or an out-club or an exclusive thing at all. Really, it's about love because that's who God is. And I stared at him. And I said, okay. And then he literally did this. I'm done. And then he swaggered off and just started dancing to Billy Joel. Really. And I went over to my friends on another table and I said, see the guy in purple shimmying around there? And they were like, yeah. And I said, he just said some great things. And it was amazing what they said because they just went, they said, what do you say? And I said, well, I start. And then they just shut me down. Like, shut me down and said, oh, you're not talking about religion here, not with us now. And I said, okay. And we'd all been drinking, so people were very verbose, And one said, here's the thing, be moral. Morality is it. If we can all just be moral, we won't need any religions. Religions cause war. Religions are dangerous. Don't do this to yourself. Avoid it. Very angry with me. And I kind of agreed with him. Clearly, morality is crucial. But I have a book in my loo by C.S. Lewis. I don't know if you have books, but he's a good writer. And there's a book called Mere Christianity. It's a series of kind of talks he gave in a book. And in one of the pages, it says this of Christianity, which I wish I could have said to them at the time, if I could rewind time, but I couldn't. He just says this, Christianity will teach you, in fact, that you cannot be good. Not for 24 hours, on your own moral efforts at least. And then it will teach you that even if you were, you still wouldn't have achieved the purpose for which you're made. Mere morality is not the end of life. You're made for something quite different from that. I wish I could have said there's something else. Like Lendiwe in the Mud Hut was saying, do you know beyond your brain what else there is for you? What feeds you, actually? And it's taken me a very long time to learn all this and to realize this, and I'm still on the journey. I'm on a microphone now, and I'm talking at you and thinking about my dog who's not very well at the same time. My brain is all over the place, but I will guarantee you this, that this journey is a beautiful journey. If you dare to take it, if you dare to open the tin. Do it at your own time and your own pace. Don't be cajoled. And again, if you're here and you have felt judged, from a Christian perspective, I'm so sorry. I can't overstate that. My realization also with rules and breaking them was that rules don't really love you. They're just there to tell you what to avoid or what to do. So that's not the faith. It's something more than legality. And I did a drawing of a mouse. Can we have the drawing? Do you think it's neatly colored in? Can you see any marks outside the lines? Apparently there is one, someone told me. It's just on the arm where the t-shirt joins the arm. Anyway, the point is, that's how this faith was presented to me, is if you color between the lines, if you get this all right, like all these neat Christians seem to do, or if they're not doing it, they're pretending really well to do it, you get this. Problem. I'm not like that. I have foul mouth, and I'm rude, and I'm difficult, and I have terrible thoughts, and, I'm selfish. So where does that leave me? On a good day, I'm the next picture. That's me. So what's where am I with this thing then? Really? Because I've always felt on the outside of it. I look at people, oh yes, I read my Bible, I'm good. I do these things, but I don't do any of that. So I'm that then, am I? And the answer to it is this. That's it. That's you and I, with all our mess. That's it. You can breathe and go, I'm loved. That's what Lindy was trying to tell me. It's what I've largely come to understand now, and despite the mess and trickiness of life, which it really is, that we're loved. And the reason why is because it is the grace of God, which you'll hear about on the course, which has been earned for you. You can't earn this. It doesn't matter how many times you pray or do things right or avoid things or look good. It doesn't really achieve that. It's done for us, which is the beautiful thing, I think. That's why I agree to sort of come and do these things. But that said, I'm a terrible example of a Christian. I think it was Gandhi. Gandhi said, I like your Christ, I don't like your Christians. They're nothing like your Christ. I'm nothing like Christ at all. You can tell. But the point is, what was he like? And that's what's fascinated me. And I've lost my gaze on church activities. I've lost my gaze on a great deal of Christian subculture. I've walked away from huge amounts of Christian subculture. It bores me, actually, if I'm really honest. I'm really sorry to say a lot of it bores me stupid. But the one thing that will never bore me is Jesus. Can't bore me. So just, whatever you see of Christian subculture expression, just don't forget that they're different. Don't lose him, who he is, honestly. I was, and he loves you. I was at I didn't mean to stand that to make throw away. Oh, no, it's a huge thing. I was on an Alpha conference, whatever that is, in New York years ago, and this is my last little story I'll tell you. But I was with a wonderful guy called Jamie Haight, who was leading the worship with his guitar, blah, blah, blah. And he said to me, it was a 3-day conference, he said, Charlie, just to liven up a bit, can you play percussion? And I said, all right. And we didn't have any percussive instruments, so he said, well, go and buy one. So I went off into Manhattan, and I went to this great music store, and it was the percussion section was the top, and Jules Holland was in there bizarrely. We had a chat, and really weird. And then all the percussion stuff, they kind of, I just wanted something small, and all the small things are gone, except for this, which is a banana. This banana also acts as a shaker, right? So I bought the banana. I went back to Jamie and said, I've got a banana. And he said, okay. So for 3 days in this central church in Manhattan with huge numbers of people in there, Jamie led worship beautifully, and I stood on the stage with my banana, right? And when the fast ones were going, it was fast. God, we love you, God, you're very nice. You're so nice, God. And then the snoggy ones where, it's all much more sexy, and oh, God, you're so great. All that. Anyway, there I was for 3 days. And till the end of the conference, the lady, as I was leaving on that, this lady came up to me, she goes, I was literally walking out the door, she goes, she said, can I just have a quick word with you? And I said, sure. She goes, I just want to say thank you. And I said, oh, for the worship, it's so beautiful. And I said, oh, we try, it's fine. And she said, I felt, again, awkward, and I started to sort of leave. And she said, oh, no, I have one more question. I said, sure. She goes, well, why were you on stage? I said, shaking a banana. And what she'd seen was this guy. The banana wasn't mic'd, so essentially what she saw for 3 days was a guy shaking a banana to every song, like this. No sound, literally. What are the implications of that? Like this. 3 days, not one song, 3 days. Every song. No one told me. And I said to her, oh, it's like a banana, it's like a shake or whatever. And she went, oh, don't you worry, it's okay. and I left, I thought, that's it, isn't it? That's a perfect summary of how she just thought, well, that's Christians, they shake bananas. That's what they do. They're weird. They take a perfectly normal faith and make it weird just because they have this weird need to make it weird. What I've discovered actually is, to be honest with you, even though I am probably quite weird, is actually genuinely the most normalizing thing. Like, my mate Busky, who's got his Adam's apple moves a lot. He's very tall, he's got 3 kids, I see him a lot. We pray together, but usually our prayer life consists of lying on a sofa, and he goes, so you got Alpha tonight? And I said, yeah. He says, how'd you feel? Scared. All right, well, let's pray then. And then there's this long silence. He just goes, that's like how he prays. It's awful. But the thing is, then we have tea. But why I'm trying to tell you that is because it's just a normal thing. It's not shaking a banana. It's just normal. It's normal. It's gentle and kind and good and honest and liberating. And if you can allow that into your system like a sponge, it's a beautiful thing. Really. But it does look like someone standing on stage shaking it up. Anyway, so all I say, so the tin is, if you dare to open it, stick around. Be ruthless. Say what you think. Don't be cajoled into believing something you don't want to believe in. Enjoy it. But primarily, if you take the lid off, what it really is love. But it sometimes looks desperately weird. Really, and I'm so sorry, because it's not. The other thing is, in all my groups I was in, I always kind of wanted to leave, and I'd grip my seat, and I'd find people annoying to begin with, and I found it difficult with conversations. But if you just stick to your seat, cling to your seat, and endure it, and ask the questions that you've always wanted to ask, or say things you always wanted to say, and never feel bad about a question, whatever it is. The only bad question is one you didn't have the guts to ask. Just say it. And if you don't have a faith, you are the person that's just. If you have a faith, well, fine, but this is for someone who doesn't. So if you have no faith here, this is really for you, and you say what you want, and you be as rude as you like, and enjoy it, and chew it, and wrestle with it, and have fun. And thank you for enduring this bizarre monologue. And thank you very, very much.
Wow, Charlie really has an amazing story. Hopefully it's inspired you to keep asking those big questions of life, or to keep exploring the claims of the Christian faith, and hopefully we're not deterred by what we would perceive it to be from the outside. And so the way Alpha works is, over the next 6 weeks, we're going to be meeting online on Zoom every Wednesday from 7 p.m. to no later than 8:30, and we're going to log on together, and we'll normally have a meal, so bring some snacks, bring some food and some drinks, and then we'll watch a video on some various topics, like who is Jesus, why did Jesus have to die, how can I have faith, and then we break into smaller groups where we can have some discussion around these questions and these topics. There's some facilitators or hosts that will help us in guiding these conversations. I know what some of you are thinking already. You're like, oh, I'm not a talker, I don't need to be in one of those groups. And I'd say, no, feel no pressure. You can come and contribute as much or as little as you want to. The Alpha is really this non-threatening environment where we get to agree, disagree, and we get to have honest conversations around these questions. So really feel absolutely no pressure. You can just be yourself. If anything, if you come on the Alpha course and you meet a couple of new people and you get to broaden your knowledge on faith a little bit, I would say that's still just a big win of coming on the Alpha course. And don't feel like you have to sign up and be stuck in the course for the whole of those 6 weeks, but feel free to come and try it out. And if it's not working for you, you can come and go as you please. So feel that freedom. But if you are keen to join us next week, then you can sign up by clicking on the link below or in the description, and there's an online form that we'd love for you to fill out, and we'll get some more information to you about next week, and we'd love to see you there. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to land our evening by playing a short little Alpha clip that just gives you a taste of what the film series is going to be like. So we're going to play that now, and we hope to see you all next week. Have an amazing evening.
Every day we ask so many questions. What should I wear? What's the weather going to be like? How am I going to fit everything in? But then there are those bigger questions, like why am I here? Where am I heading? Is there more to life than this?
I had arrived at an answer to the most important issue that we humans ever deal with. Is there a God? And I had arrived there without ever really looking at the evidence. And I was supposed to be a scientist.
At 28, I had gotten many of the things that I thought I wanted. My girlfriend was on the cover of magazines, I had a Beamer, and I was so unhappy. It was a realization maybe that I would never find happiness where I was looking for it.
I think for so many years, I always just strived to be strong in myself. All I needed was me and my buddies and, we'd be like invincible. But the truth is, none of us are.
And I found purpose, I found meaning, I found hope. God took something so broken and made it a beautiful art piece.
Alpha is a place where you can be yourself. You can say what you think and challenge everything. No question is too complex or too simple. And what your point of view is as important as anyone else's.
We are going on a journey together, an adventure to explore the questions of life, faith, and meaning.